The small town of Cold Harbor sat tucked against the edge of a sprawling pine forest, the kind of place where life moved slowly and everyone knew one another by name. Its winding streets were dotted with old brick houses and flickering street lamps that seemed more decorative than useful. Outsiders rarely came here, and the residents liked it that way. But one summer evening, as the last orange glow of sunset bled away, a mist rolled in from the woods. At first, it seemed harmless, a soft veil hugging the earth. But by dawn, Cold Harbor would no longer be the same. It began with a sound, a low, humming vibration, almost like the thrum of an old generator. Sheriff Mark Callahan was the first to notice. He leaned against the hood of his cruiser on the edge of town, cigarettes smoldering between his fingers, when the forest beyond the road seemed to exhale. The mist poured out, thick and deliberate, curling around the trees and sliding toward the houses. Storm coming in, he muttered to himself, though the sky was clear. By midnight, the mist blanketed the town. It wasn't the kind of fog that drifted or swirled. It hung heavy, unmoving, clinging to the skin like damp cloth. Porch lights barely pierced it, and the moon was swallowed whole. Inside her small house on Willow Street, Clara Jennings shut her curtains tight. She'd lived in Cold Harbor all her life and had never seen fog so dense. Her dog, Jasper, whined at the door, ears flat, tail tucked between his legs. He refused to go outside, no matter how much she coaxed. Across town, teenagers gathered at the old diner after closing. They joked nervously about the mist, daring each other to step outside. One boy, Eli, pulled out his phone to record, grinning into the camera. "Day one of the apocalypse," he said with mock drama. The others laughed, but when the footage played back, their smiles faded. Behind them, in the fog-shrouded parking lot, something moved. A dark shape. Too tall, too thin, and it hadn't been there when they filmed. By morning, the town was uneasy. The mist still lingered, thicker than before. No birds sang. No insects buzzed. The silence pressed on everyone like a weight. At the edge of town, a man named Harold Reeves set out to check his cattle. His wife begged him not to. "Just wait, Harold. The fog will clear." But Harold was stubborn. He pulled on his boots and disappeared into the white wall that swallowed his front yard. Hours later, his wife's screams brought neighbors running. She had found him lying in the grass, eyes wide open, face pale, mouth frozen in a scream. His body was stiff, but his clothes were soaked as if he had drowned. The coroner shook his head. Heart attack, maybe. But Clara, who stood among the gathering crowd, knew better. She had seen the prints around the body, strange, elongated marks in the dew, like hands dragged across the earth. That night, the mist pressed harder. Windows steamed from the outside. The street lamps flickered and died, one by one. Clara couldn't sleep. She sat by the window, staring into the pale void that had swallowed her street. And then she heard it, a whisper. Faint, melodic, curling through the mist like smoke. "Clara, Clara," her breath hitched. She recognized the voice. It was her mother's. But her mother had been dead for 5 years. Jasper barked frantically, teeth bared at the window. Clara stumbled backward, heart racing. She pressed her hands to her ears, but the whisper seeped through, pulling at her mind like a hook. Across town, Sheriff Callahan patrolled the streets in his cruiser, radio hissing static. Through the fog, he spotted a figure standing in the middle of the road. He slowed the car, rolled down his window. "Hey, you all right out here?" The figure didn't answer. It was a woman in a torn nightgown, her hair matted with dew. She turned her head slowly toward him, revealing a face that wasn't quite right. The skin sagged, stretched, as though something inside was wearing her like a mask. Her lips parted, and the same whisper Clara had heard spilled into the night. The sheriff floored the accelerator. The figure dissolved into the mist behind him. By the third day, Cold Harbor was cut off. Roads leading out of town ended in an impenetrable wall of white. Cars that drove into it never returned. Cell phones lost their signal. The internet was gone. Panic spread. Families huddled together, doors locked, lights blazing. But the mist seeped in through cracks, under doors, through keyholes. And with it came the whispers. Clara tried to stay sane, but exhaustion gnawed at her. She dreamt of faces in the fog, of long arms reaching for her. Sometimes she woke with her sheets damp, her skin clammy, as though something had touched her while she slept. Sheriff Callahan gathered a few townspeople at the diner, the only building with a working generator. He laid out maps, his voice low and steady. "We stay together. We keep the lights on. And we don't listen to the voices. That's how they get you." "What are they?" Clara asked. The sheriff hesitated. "I don't know, but I think they want us to follow them. And once you do, you don't come back." That night, Eli, the boy from the diner video, vanished. His friends swore he had just stepped outside to smoke, but when they followed, all they found were his shoes, neatly placed by the door, still warm. More people disappeared, some in the middle of the night, others in broad daylight, vanishing the moment they were swallowed by the mist. Each time, the whispers grew louder, bolder, filling the town with ghostly voices of lost loved ones. Clara's father's voice came to her one evening, calling from the street outside. She hadn't seen him since she was a child, hadn't even heard his voice in years. "Clara, it's me. I've come back for you. Just step outside." Her hand trembled on the doorknob. The longing was unbearable. But then Jasper growled, low and fierce, snapping her out of it. She pulled back, tears streaming down her face. Not everyone resisted. By morning, 3 more houses stood empty. In the diner, paranoia mounted. Arguments broke out. Food supplies dwindled. One man, Pastor Williams, stood and raised his voice. "This is judgment. We're being tested. The mist is punishment for our sins." "Shut the hell up," Callahan barked, slamming his fist on the counter. "This isn't God. It's something else. Something that wears our dead like masks." Clara whispered, "They're feeding on us." The room fell silent. She didn't know how she knew, but the thought lodged deep inside her. Every disappearance, every drained body, they weren't killing for sport. They were consuming, piece by piece. On the 4th night, the mist surged. Windows shattered from the pressure. The diner's generator sputtered and died, plunging the survivors into darkness. Shapes pressed against the glass, elongated limbs, distorted faces, eyes glowing faintly like embers. The whispers rose into a chorus, filling every corner of the room. Clara clutched Jasper as the sheriff raised his shotgun. "They're coming through," he shouted. And then the glass gave way. In the chaos, Clara ran. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to move. Jasper stayed glued to her heels as figures reached from the mist, their fingers grazing her hair, her clothes. She burst into the church, slamming the heavy wooden doors behind her. Inside, candles flickered weakly. For a moment, it was quiet. Safe. But then she saw the frames on the walls, portraits of saints. Their faces had changed. Each one now bore the likeness of her neighbors, eyes wide, mouths open in silent screams. Her stomach dropped. There was no sanctuary. The mist was inside everything. Clara fled to the forest's edge, where it had all begun. The mist was thickest here, swirling like a living thing. Sheriff Callahan stumbled out of the white, his shotgun broken, his uniform torn. "End of the line," he rasped. "We can't fight it." Clara shook her head. "Then we burn it." Together, they dragged fallen branches into a pile. Callahan poured gasoline from his cruiser, hands trembling. Clara struck a match. The fire roared, heat pushing back the mist. For a heartbeat, it worked. The fog shrank away, shapes within it shrieking as they dissolved. Clara thought they had won. But then the fire sputtered, choked, and went out, not from lack of fuel, but as though the mist itself had swallowed the flames. Callahan fell to his knees. "God help us." A shape loomed behind him, taller than the trees, arms stretching wide as the forest itself. It reached down, and the sheriff was gone. Clara ran until her lungs burned, until her legs gave out. She collapsed in the grass, Jasper whining beside her. The whispers coiled around her like a lullaby. Her mother's voice came again, gentle, soothing. "Don't fight it, Clara. Just sleep." Her eyelids grew heavy. She fought, but exhaustion was stronger. The last thing she saw before darkness claimed her was Jasper, teeth bared, snarling into the mist as the white closed in. When morning came, The mist had cleared. The sun shone over Cold Harbor once more. The streets were silent, houses empty. Only one sound lingered, faint and echoing through the trees, a whisper carrying the names of the lost.